Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Hour. I'm your host, Miguel Sanchez. And as you know, I talk about content that helps entrepreneurs and investors. But today, I'm talking about one of the biggest opportunities I've seen in COVID, which is how the future of online education is changing and it's going to create a lot of millionaires that do coaching and online courses. So, why I bring this up today is because I wake up early every day and I think and I look at all my potential revenue streams, right? And I look at them and I say, okay, what do I have to do to make my revenue streams more, bring in more revenue? So, as I was doing that this morning, I looked at every revenue stream and then I said, okay, I've been talking a lot with people recently. A lot of people have been hitting me up over this content creation thing. So I'm helping people in the DMs and the text messages, people FaceTiming me, calling me, and I'm giving them information. And one person said, why don't you create a course? I would pay for it. And I said, all right, I've been thinking about courses, but I haven't really been able to figure it out. It's a lot of work. So this morning, I start researching it like around 5:30 in the morning. I'm researching courses. It's crazy how I operate. So I'm looking around and I come across this guy. I don't even know his name. Never heard of him before. Never seen him ever, ever, ever. And he says a few things that like resonate with how I've been thinking about this whole opportunity. He says the way education is going fully online. He's like, I am one of the top paid coaches in the world. He works with Oprah and all these different people. To have him coach you, you need to pay $500,000. He said, but most of my revenue doesn't come from that. It comes from online courses. This guy makes $10 million a year on online courses, and he comes on 2 times a month for all of his course subscribers. And I was like, you see, this is what I've been thinking. At the core of what I've been thinking is right now, what is happening across the board, across the whole world? Young people are learning how to learn online. Adults are learning how to learn online. I'm lucky enough to come from an age and in a skill set where I had to learn how to learn online 20 years ago. So I automatically saw that path and was like, wait a minute, I went to school and I didn't learn half of what I learned by just learning online. But what people would always tell me is, yeah, but that's you. I can't learn that way. But I always used to be like, yeah, you can. You just got to try. It's just a different mindset. But once you get there, you'll learn it. So now I'm to the point where I honestly believe that what's going to start happening is it's not going to be about what you do. You know how people be like, oh, hi, my name is Miguel. What do you do? I think it's going to become, what do you teach? Because I believe everybody has their own path in life and everybody learns things along the way. And there's things you can teach other people that you learned. Every single person in human history has had that. But now it has never been easier to take your learning, put it in some type of course environment, and find people who are interested in paying for it to learn faster. Because what are you doing when you pay for a course? You're basically shortening the time it takes you to learn something. So if you think about what happens in the current situation, right? You graduate high school and you go to college for whatever it is you want to do. Let's say you wanted to be an entrepreneur. You go to school for business, right? You take 4 years, maybe go to master's, get your MBA. 6 years, 7 years, maybe it takes you to do all that. It probably costs you at least $200,000, maybe more. What if I told you you can give the top entrepreneur in the world $50K and that person would teach you for years? What would you do? Which one would you choose? I like put in the comments. You tell me which one would you choose, because I know which one I would have choose, and I know there's certain environments and jobs where they want that piece of paper, but I believe those jobs just reinforce themselves. So the job I'm really talking about is like education, teaching. So a teacher has to get a master's degree and a bachelor's degree and then a master's degree for certain things because they're selling education. Though that's how I feel about it, because there's no way you need a master. Like right now, I technically can't teach in a college because I only graduated from community college. So I can't teach in a college because I don't have enough of a degree. But you're gonna tell me they have people in those schools that know more than me? Of course not. But the way the education system works, they want to make sure you have that piece of paper for whatever reason. I think all that is going away, though. If you look at what the biggest companies in the world are starting to say, they're all starting to say, we're not even caring about your resume, your college you went to. We want to know what you can do. The Googles of the world, Microsofts, um, Salesforce. You hear all of these big, huge companies saying, doesn't matter to us what school you went to anymore. So that's going to open up this huge opportunity when you think about all the stars aligning, right? First, we have the whole world just had a crash course, pun intended, on learning online. Children, adults, everyone. All these companies are heading towards not caring about an online degree. About a degree. I remember having a conversation with one of the biggest colleges in New York City about this because they asked us to build some type of technology thing for them, and we were having conversations. And I was like, why not go online? I think you'll get more people. You can make a lot more money if you go online. But they were like, no, learning really only happens in person, and online can just be an extra piece. And I didn't agree, and I let them know that. And as an innovator, I know I don't always say what people want to hear from me. I tell them what I think they should know. So I told them straight up, that's not where education is going. It's just not. People are going to want to have the convenience of learning online. And look at where we are right now. And the key about the situation right now is, if you are a person that knows anything, that has an insight to anything that is valuable to other people, this is going to be the golden era for people like you. And that's why I'm doing myself. I'm looking at the courses because in 20 years, I've figured out so many things to make my business, to make different types of technology, apps, games, websites. And I've learned a lot of things, right? And the key is, all right, I can keep using those things and get a few clients every month, or I can teach those things to thousands of people through a course that exists there. And all those people can pay me for that information, and I would make more money off that than servicing 3 or 4 or 5 clients a month, right? And then when you look at the model of what's going on right now, which this is like, boom, there's so much opportunity, is it's a subscription model. It's kind of like Netflix, right? Or Disney Plus. People are coming and saying, okay, you have this library of videos that is information that I want to consume and understand, but I need some hand holding. And I know I can't afford to work with you one-on-one, but I may be able to afford to work with you within a group. So right now, and I've said this many times, I'm working with the top YouTube creator in the world. He has a program where for $100 a month, I get his knowledge, and he literally gives me feedback. Not one-on-one though. I just literally came off of a call through his Facebook group, which I made a video about why you want to do that a few weeks ago. So in his Facebook group, his private Facebook group, only to the people paying, he has people go in there and ask their questions. He brings up stuff every 2 weeks. There has to be, if I had to guess, there has to be like 30,000 people in this group. If you Think about that. Think about that. 30,000 people paying $100 a month to learn from him. And now, of course, he's built a team because millions of dollars. And now they all help us. I could literally email somebody at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, I'm not really understanding why this video is not performing well. Oh, it's probably because of this, this, and that. Why don't you try this? That's no college is doing that once you graduate, right? They're not going to hold your hand for as long as you want them to. And you're not, and think about it. If I paid this guy $100 a month for 10 years, I probably wouldn't even cover one semester at a college, right? So I honestly believe this is where it's going. And the reason why I'm creating this today is because I'm trying to basically make people think about it as a revenue stream, but at the same time, I'm concepting a revenue stream in my brain that is right now. What I've been seeing mostly is people are asking me, "Hey, can you help me create content?" First, I saw a big uptick in views and comments when I spoke about podcasting, right? And then when I started showing the back end of how I create all this content, people started reaching out to me. Within the last week, I've had at least 5 different people reach out and say, "You just motivated me to make content. I'm putting content up." And then they reach out to me after they've created it or during the creation and like, "What do you think? What should I do better?" And I'm saying, and all of them are saying, "Look, make this a course. I would pay for it." So I'm like, okay. And the more I study this, that's the way to go, right? So you get the feedback on what type of course to make instead of you coming up within your brain what you think people want. Because you could waste a lot of time, right? I could have wasted a lot of time thinking, all right, you know what? I think what people really want to learn is how to make a website. Let me spend 30 hours making a class about how to make a website and nobody buy it, right? Or I do this. I go live. I talk to people. They ask questions. They DM me. They put in the comments. And while I see those questions, I say, oh, okay. 3 people asked that same question. That's a video then. So actually it happened this morning because one of the people I told you, she created a video and she was like, "Tell me what you think." So I watched it and it was long. So that's good. But it was on Instagram and I was walking around. I had to go pick something up. So I had it on in my pocket and I said, you know what? She really needs to make this a podcast as well. So I texted her. I said, you know what? It's good, but you should also make it a podcast. And then I'm going about doing what I'm doing. And she's like, okay, how do I do that? And I was like, oh, yeah. There's this thing, what it's called, it's called the curse of knowledge, which is when you start to know more, you forget the beginning stage. So right now I'm so far ahead in doing all this crazy stuff that I forget that that's not as simple to the person that's starting out as it is to me now, because I've been doing it for a year now at this point. So it's like I do it in no problem. But to a person just starting out, that's a video. That's a part of my course that says, okay, because right there I couldn't really explain the whole thing to her. Like it's a few steps. You need specific software. You need to understand a few things. So I was like, all right, you know what? Check. That's one thing that course is going to have. And then I started to look up these online teaching community things. There's a Teachable, there's Kajabi, there's Thinkific, there's WordPress plugins, there's Udemy, there's all of these like online course things. So that's another big thing to figure out when you're creating a course. Where should you put it? What is the goal of the course? What is your the metric you're going to choose to look at to see if this course is benefiting you personally, right? So all these things, they're like going around in my head, and I'm like, okay, I need to start mine so I could teach others, right? And it could eventually I can make a course on making courses, right? Because one of the biggest things I see with this whole content creation thing is all these people have courses. They all have courses. Like if they're creating content often, at least 90% of them have courses, unless they're like comedians and stuff like that. And even some of those have courses. So to me, it's one of the easiest ways to make revenue off your content. Because let's say I was watching this $10 million guy today, and the $10 million guy is basically saying, create 3 levels of pricing. First level of pricing is under $100. Second level of pricing is from $100 to $500. And then third level of pricing is $500 and up. So I said, okay, that makes sense. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, I'm looking at the things I've paid for and I've gotten coaching and classes on, because I've been doing it for years. I've been seeing this movement grow for a long time, but I've never really dipped my toe in because I didn't really understand where to start at all. And it was just outside of my mentality. And I wish, of course, like many different things, stocks, real estate, I wish I would have engaged earlier. And that's why whenever I create stuff like this, I just hope you just start to go and look at some of this stuff and say which revenue stream makes sense to me. And this morning I woke up and there's a book called The One Thing. Highly recommend it. It says, what is the one thing that will make whatever you're doing the biggest jump? So this morning I said, all right, I'm looking at all these revenue streams. I'm working on each one. And I was even breaking down like how long I spend on each one every day or every week. And I said, which revenue stream is ideal to my ideal life? So when I think about my ideal life, for me personally, and I'm sure it's probably the same for most, I want to work the least amount of time to make the most amount of money and have the maximum flexibility of my own schedule. So when I did, so as I think of all these revenue streams and I look at each one and I think mass ideation, okay, that's going to need some of my time. Of course, I can grow the staff bigger and spends less of my time, but it's always going to need a good chunk of my time. And I'm fine with that because I love building things. Then I think of Metabronx. Metabronx is a little bit of a more seasonal kind of situation where we know there's cohort times. So they're going to need me during those cohort times, but I'm also on the strategic planning. So throughout the year, I have to think of stuff, but it's not as much time as Metabronx, as mass ideation yet. Then I think of real estate. Real estate is not, it's a heavy upfront time, but then it's less time after it's set up, right? So that could be ideal, but it still takes a lot of time to set up. So I thought if I look at all of them, investing in stocks, everything I could think of, the course creation to me, online course and coaching is the ideal because it's the least amount of time. This guy's making, I'm not saying I will ever get there, but who knows? He started like not even 10 years ago. And now he's making $10 million a year and has $500,000 coaching clients each. So I think to myself, that is the one that has a few benefits. Not only does it have the benefit of this guy's working 2 hours a month and making $10 million. I'm sure he's creating more courses and that takes some of his time. So, but that's really up to him. He doesn't have to keep doing that. He has a bunch of courses already for years. So he's getting a lot out of his whole life. So he got really time flexibility. He's got what I call kind of a forever revenue stream. If you think about it, forever. So if you think about it, you think if you have kids, you may be like me. You're like, all right, what am I going to leave my kids? You want to leave them property. You want to leave them inheritance. You want to leave them life insurance, all these different things, right? But what if I told you, you could leave your kids everything that you've learned that you wish you would have known and didn't have to learn it. Not only that, they can make money off of it for the rest of their lives. So what I'm saying is, imagine right now, Walt Disney had a course from the 1950s on how to make animation. He's long dead. Do you not think any animator on the planet would be subscribing to that? And there would be animators coming in and talking about Walt Disney's process and stuff. Of course. Now, we're all not Walt Disney, sure. But if you create a brand, that brand can live forever, even once you pass away, right? You could always continue. Look at Walt Disney. It's literally called Walt Disney and it still exists. He's dead, right? So they've done it. It's been done many, many times. So when I think about this online course creation, that is a thing where, you know, a business, you could leave that to your family, but they may not want to run that business. There was a book I read, I think it was called, I think it was like the 48 Laws of Power, where the guy says, don't project your career onto your children because they may not want to do it and they may resent you for doing it because you're going to bring them into a career that they really don't want to do. So that's what I always think about when I think about leaving my kids mass ideation, right? Because I'm like, I like technology and creativity. They may not. But the way I think about that one is mass ideation is really created to make any idea easier to produce. That's what I made it for, because I know how to make them. So I'm like, all right, when you come to me, you're coming to me because I know how to make this and I'm going to make it easier for you to make it. But now, if I think about that and I say, now I'm going to allow anyone that wants to, and you don't even got to hire us. All you got to do is go in, pay your monthly, and you can learn how to make anything you could possibly want to make. I'll even show you how to find the resources to do it. And then you would think, most people would think, yeah, but then you lose work. You lose your own work. Yeah, but if I have 1,000, let's just say, let's make the math easy. Let's say I have 100 people paying $75 a month, $7,500 a month. I could live off that, especially if there's only one revenue stream, right? And then I don't technically need to take on more clients then, right? If my financial freedom, let's say financial freedom in my life is 7,500, then that one revenue stream covers it, right? So, but let's say it's less, then it's more than enough. Let's say it's more, then it still gets you closer to your financial freedom. So my goal, after thinking about all this, is to start understanding from anybody watching that wants to create content around whatever it is they believe people want to know. So, but when I think about myself, I created content for months where nobody was really asking big time questions. They more were just like, oh, that's interesting. Good point. Good point. But once I started talking about the podcasting, that's when I really noticed people like, hey, I love what you said there. How can I do this? And I was like, but I explained it in the video and the audio. Yeah, but I didn't understand this, and that. Okay, so what you got to do is this, and that. All right, but more questions. So I was like, all right, maybe what I create is a course around podcasting. But then I started talking about this video opportunity, which is like ridiculous. And people started asking me there. But before we move on to that, make sure you subscribe to my podcast either on Anchor, and please give me reviews. Apple, please give me 5 stars on Apple, and Spotify. Please, thank you. Because I'm trying to grow the podcast, and the way podcasts work is the more likes and subscribes, 5-star ratings you get, Apple shows it to more people. So that was my shameless plug on my podcast. So the idea of creating content and trying to figure out how to make money around the content, courses is what I've seen to be the number one way. Because let's say advertising. We're gonna break down advertising versus courses versus coaching. If you were trying to make money just off advertising, that means you need hundreds of thousands, millions of views. You need millions of views before you start making a significant amount of money. So let's say math easy on, I'm going to give you the math on making videos on YouTube. How much views you need to make before you can make $5,000. On average, you get 1 to 5 CPM on YouTube. So let's just even take the high end, 5 CPM, which not a lot of people get 5 CPM. Most people don't get closer to 1. 5 CPM means you need 5 million views to make $5,000, I think. Yeah. 5 million views to make $5,000. On podcasting is $15 per thousand listens. So you need about one, let me do the math. I don't want to. So if you wanted to make 15 times, so 15,000 for every 1,000 views, right? That's, wait, no, I was wrong. For every 100,000 views. I think that's right. You see, math is not my strong suit. But the idea of CPM right there, 15 versus 5, 3 times more, right? So let's say your course, remember what I was telling you, is $75 a month. You only need 40 people to make $3,000 a month. That math is right. Right? So 40 people versus millions of watches, right? It's a big, big difference. Big difference. And then that's recurring revenue. So it's not, of course, there's going to be some people that come and leave. You know, like you unsubscribe to Netflix if you can't afford it. But it's much more predictable than anything else, right? Like 1 month, your YouTube views could go down. 1 month, your podcast views listens can go down. But that's another reason you have multiple revenue streams, right? But the course one, I've told you, I've just been seeing person after person. It's like every time I see new people, I see higher numbers. Like this morning when I heard this guy makes $10 million a year on courses, I was like, what? That is ridiculous. Like I would have never thought that. Never. That's like NBA player money. You know what I mean? Like on videos that just exist, that are sitting in a vault that you pay to have access to, and he gives you 2 hours of his time in a group setting every month. That is not a bad deal, right? And if I told you, like I said, every revenue stream, wouldn't you pick that one? I think that revenue stream is the least amount of time, most amount of money potential. The one caveat about that revenue stream is you can't just put up a course and hope people come to it. You're not going to be like, oh, my name is Miguel Sanchez. I put up a course. 50 people just buy it. No, you have to do things like this so people know who you are and go to the course. So in a way, you kind of need all of them. You need a podcast to draw traffic to your course. You need video content to draw traffic to your course. So again, it brings this multiple revenue stream thing, right? Because imagine, this is the ideal scenario, and this is why I'm working on this every day, is imagine the YouTube starts paying you. As you start making a few thousand off the ads on YouTube. Same with the podcasts and with the courses. And they all feed each other. That's not a bad deal. And we are in the infancy stage of this. Like this, I think the pandemic just put us in a moment where this is the explosion of it, because everybody's ready now. Everybody's brain is like, okay, I can learn online. I think most people didn't think that before this. Even the DOE and everybody, right? Like, oh, There's no way that anybody can learn unless they're sitting right in front of you. I've known that for 20 years. I didn't learn most of what I know by anyone. I learned it on a computer, on videos, reading tutorials, and understanding it. And once I understood that way to learn, I was unstoppable, because that means I can learn anything I want for free. Because now YouTube has, you can pretty much learn anything you want for free. How is that different from courses though, right? So that's one thing I tell people, put out as much information as you can. Right now, everything I'm going to have people pay for a course, it's going to be in these YouTube videos, Instagram, podcasts. The difference is courses keep it all in one place where it's easy to access and understand. One, coaching means you get time with me, or like that $10 million guy. He's literally telling you, I coach Oprah, and you're going to get 2 hours a month where I can answer your questions. That's not a bad deal, right? You would think, okay, what do you coach Oprah on? Do I want that? Right? So that's the thing, right? Like I told you, right now, I'm trying to grow YouTube. So I went to the top guy in the world at YouTube, of course, because he's creating content every day. And I saw him, I've known him for years that he existed. But when the pandemic hit, I said, okay, everybody's going to be on YouTube right now. This is my time to stop playing around and get on YouTube, do it right. So I'm not going to half-ass it and try to figure it out during this huge opportunity. I'm going to go to the best guy and I'm going to pay him to teach me. Of course, I wish I was filthy rich, because I ought to pay his super high-level coaching, which is like $2,000 an hour. And that's another opportunity that you can get to eventually. But in these last, 6-8 months, I've learned a ridiculous amount from him. And I've spent $800 the most? Something like that. I mean, of course, I bought little things here and there. I would say all in all, I probably spent $1,500 to learn from the best YouTube person, versus hoping I figure it out in years. That's where I really truly believe this coaching and courses thing, connected with the now ability for the whole world to understand they can learn online, is a huge opportunity. I don't care what industry, what you do, where you work. I bet you anything, you know something that somebody would pay for. It's just impossible not to be, right? So unless you're like 13, right? And even that, my kids know things I'm like, teach me how to do that, right? So the idea is, I'm just putting seed in your brain, right? I hope years people come back, or next week, and say, you got me. All right, I'm going to create a course. I'm creating a course. I'm working with a bunch of people that are creating courses, that I'm picking their brains, figuring my stuff out. And I ask you to give me any feedback, any questions about what would you want? What would you want to learn from me? If you know about me, you know what I do. What do you think you could learn from me, right? And that's the kind of feedback I'm looking for. I just want to understand. So right now, from what I've heard, people want me to help them make podcasts. People want me to help them create like a ton of content. So I've been able to figure out how to create a ridiculous amount of content, like in short amount of time. So that's another thing I'm guessing people are going to want to understand. And then once I make these courses, I've already been going to people that I know things people want to know. And I'm telling them, look, I'll partner with you. I'll do all the work and we split all the profit. I'll shoot every video. I'll set it all up. I'll even run the 2 hour a month things, because I know these people can get 20, 50,000 people to pay $100 a month. Think about that money, a month of 2 hours of their time. This is just starting. There's 7 billion people on this planet. Can you imagine if you're the number one person in the world, when everybody has a phone, everybody has a computer, and they want to learn the thing you know? You can become, this guy's making $10 million right now a year, and it's the start of this. People did not even believe they could learn online 6 months ago. This is a crazy, crazy time. And if you're not in the game, again, I keep bringing it up, always with the revenue streams. If you're not in the game, you can't get lucky. And I've told you, every rich person I've ever spoken to, they were in the game and they got lucky. And it reminds me of my upbringing, right? Because I come from a household where my dad is very, very ambitious and dreamer. He's a dreamer. And my mom is super analytical and logical. And as a kid, every day I had to go to school. No matter how sick I was, I had to go to school. And I remember my dad laughing at me because I would be sick and he's like, "You going to school?" And I'm like, "No, mom's going to let me today." He's like, not your mother. She's not going to let you go. She's going to make you go to school. And he was like, when I grew up though, my mom, I could just be like, "I have a headache." And she'd be like, "Stay home." But your mother don't play that. She's going to make you go to school. And I remember going to school sick. And every time I did it, something interesting happened. Or there was something I learned. And I was like, wow, if I wasn't here today, I wouldn't have seen that or I wouldn't have learned that. And I remember hating the fact that every month I would get a perfect attendance award. I would like come home and like disrespectfully throw it on the table, like, always got to go to school. Why? But I feel like that lesson, I take it with me now. You got to show up and just put yourself in the game, and you don't know what's going to happen, right? So to me, I look at all these revenue streams and I'm like, just show up. Throw your hat in the ring. Just show up and see what happens. You don't have to put all your time into every revenue stream. You just put enough to see how much it generates. And if you like it, you keep doing it. If you don't, you bail. You sell it to somebody else, whatever. This course thing, I'm telling you, other than the Airbnb real estate thing, I might think this might be better than the Airbnb real estate. I'll be honest, you can make more money off less time with this. There's no Airbnb making you $10 million a year. You're going to need a lot of freaking Airbnbs to make $10 million a year. But that's not to say I'm not going to do it, because I am. But I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, if I'm like gauging, and there's a good book called Design Your Life. And since I've read it, I'm like always thinking that I'm not going to live the life of someone else or of just what random comes up for me. I want to make sure I'm working on the thing that's the ideal scenario for me, so I get there as fast as possible. So this online class and coaching thing, I don't know, man. Especially after this morning, seeing this guy that makes $10 million a year. It's looking like that's the winner right now. And so I had another conversation with a mentor of mine that really it's been stuck in the back of my head for like weeks, because I told you I started working as a consultant in this new industry. And I'll tell people that are in the industry soon what that is. But right now, I don't want to talk about it too much till I got it down. So I've been working as a consultant in this industry. But when it first came to me, when the opportunity came to me, I wasn't that into it. One of my mentors was like, "You're crazy. Like, this is a huge opportunity. Why don't you like this?" And I was just like, I don't love the work, I don't want to be doing that. It's not exciting to me. And he's like, "Why are you thinking that?" And I'm like, well, it's an industry that's a slow moving industry, and I want to be innovative. I want to move fast and try big ideas. And he's like, it felt like a little bit like a job, where it's like I'm gonna be needed time of my time to work for this to work, and my time pretty often. And he said, what you're missing is that you're not just an innovator. You're just hanging that innovator thing up. But what you are is you are a teacher and a leader. And I had never really thought of that. Like Leader, sure, because to run a business, you got to be a leader. But I never really thought of myself as a teacher until he said it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. That's what I've been doing with this content all this time. I'm trying to teach people what I know. And he's like, so why don't you take that same mindset and say, by teaching this industry what you know, your impact can be much bigger than you've ever thought about. And I was like, you know what? You are right. You're right. I got to look at it different. That's what's awesome about having mentors. You should really try to figure out how to have mentors. And that's what part of this is, right? As a coach is one of your mentors. So you're basically, right now, I'm paying one of the top YouTubers in the world to be my mentor for $100 a month. That's kind of crazy, right? Like, that's crazy. Like, if you think about it, it just wasn't possible not too long ago. But now I'm thinking, okay, how could I do that same thing, right? What will be the thing that people want me to mentor them on, right? Like right now, I am a mentor to startups. I'm a mentor to people trying to get in the innovation economy. I'm a mentor to people trying to create products, right? And now with this content stuff, I have been showing that I'm going to be around doing this. So people are reaching out to me like, you know what? You're really killing it with this. And it's not like I'm getting millions of views. So the key is consistency, right? So with this teaching thing, anybody can learn from anybody. I truly believe that. Even you can think of, and a lot of times I remember certain people telling me this as kind of a sort of a dig, where they were like, Miguel will listen to anybody. And I remember saying this. I think I can learn from anybody. I'll never think I'm above the intelligence level of any person enough where I can't learn from them, right? So when you think about that, now you just need to figure out what value you can give to someone by learning from you, right? If I told you by signing up for my course, I'm going to show you how to make 4,000 plus pieces of content in 6 months. That's valuable, right? Because you know how much time and money it took me to figure this out? If I told you it took me over multiple years and you're going to learn it in 6 months, that's value right there, right? Because time is money. And if it takes you years like it took me, and it's probably going to take you even longer because I had some things in place already that helped me get there faster. Like I have mass ideation with clients and budgets to invest in different things and try different things. So from scratch, it would probably take you even longer than it took me. But if you invest in my course, you'll get there in 6 months. That's the mindset I took when I did the YouTube. I paid for speed, right? I said, in 6 months with this guy's training, I will at least leapfrog a few years. And that's what happened. Because without some of the stuff he's telling me, and him and his whole team, he has like a group and a half of people because millions of dollars at this point. Every person will go up and talk about what they know. And it's like, oh, wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And I would have never known that if you didn't say it. But now I know it and I'm adding it to my toolkit, But I don't only do that with one course. I got different things I'm doing. So my mindset, my point of view is going to be different than any other person, right? So if you subscribe to me as my course and my mentorship of coaching, I'm going to have different information. Of course, some of it will be the same as the YouTube guy because I'm learning from the YouTube guy. So I'm going to tell you what I'm learning. So now you don't got to pay him and me, or maybe you just pay him or you just pay me, So the idea though, is I do believe just like we subscribe to Netflix and Hulu and Disney, I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to subscribe to Tony Robbins, whatever you want to be or become. There's going to be a person that says, I did it. You want to learn from me, get there faster? Pay $100 a month. And you're going to have subscriptions of people And you could be one of those people. Remember, I said it. I was the first person to say it. I haven't heard nobody say this. But I do truly, truly believe this is where it's going. And of course, just like anything else, most people are not going to do it. Most people are not doing what I'm doing. This is all 100% free. Well, not 100% free. Still, you can be creating on all these platforms for free. I pay for things that amplify my human ability, these AIs, these different things, sure. But you could do it for free if you wanted to. So this is where I'm saying, okay, if you want, I'm going to show you how to do it for free. But then if you want to use the cheat codes I've learned over the past however many years, pay me and I'll show you. But it's really hard to show people one-on-one all this stuff. Like if I literally sat down with someone and showed them everything I know that puts all this content out, you're going to sit with me for 80 hours? Who has time for that, right? But if there's a course up where you can take it as your own time, maybe you're chilling on a Sunday and you watch an hour there. Thursday night, you watch 2 hours. Over time, you get the information. And then these 2 times a month, people come in. Oh, you know what? I watched that video, but I really didn't understand this. All right, I got to update that video. 1, 2, this is how you do it. And now that course gets better, right? So now replace that video or add an extra piece. Now that course is better because I know the next person coming in is learning what that person didn't understand. And a big thing that I've been really starting to understand, and I did it with this, not even knowing it, is when you create something and you want to update it, right? Or reiterate or make corrections, you can only do that if something exists, right? So how could you ever get to the point where your stuff is flawless if you never start where it's full, right? You really can't get to perfection until you just start. So one of the biggest things you hear in technology and startups is if you launched your product without bugs, you launched too late. Because same idea. You put it out there, let people tell you there's bugs, fix them. But they're also going to tell you extra things like, hey, you know, if you really did this, you probably do better. And then you can be like, you know what? You're right. I'd never thought of that. But now I'm going to do that too on top of fixing that bug. So that's kind of what I did with this content. I said, I'm going on every day. And people have said, why? Why go on every single day? That's dumb. And I said, I'm going on every day for the same reason Kobe Bryant did 2 extra practices every day. Regular NBA players would come in from a certain time to a certain time, have their practice. Kobe Bryant would come in the morning, do a full practice, do the practice everybody else does, and then do a practice after them. And what did Kobe Bryant become? One of the greatest players to ever play. So to me, I'm about trying to be prolific to get better. That's how I've always gotten better. If you heard my story, I told you my story way back. I said I'm going to do tutorial every day. Again, I was working in the field. I didn't have to do a tutorial every day, but I said if I do a tutorial every day, I'm going to get better every day. I'm going to get better than the people that are not doing a tutorial every day. So with the content, that's how I feel. If I go on every day, and not 7 days a week, 5 days a week, but if I go 5 days a week and you're going 1 day a week, I'm going to have more videos. I'm going to have more practice. If you're talking about the same thing, I'm going to drown out your content. And it's funny. One of my friends hit me up the other day. He's like, I can't even get on YouTube now without seeing your face everywhere. And I'm like, that's the plan. That's how this works. All these big guys, that's what you see. All big guys and girls, you see them everywhere. And then they draw people down where? To their course or their product or their coaching, whatever it is. But most of the time it's coaching and product. Most of the time. If you look at any big number of people, they all have a course and a coaching thing because they understand what I'm telling you right now. And they got in earlier than even me. They saw it before me. The difference of what I'm saying though right now is I really believe the whole gig economy thing is going to move towards this. Again, I'm going to say it again. I think it's going to change from What do you do to what do you teach people to do, right? And how many people really want that so you can grow a subscriber base? Because the subscription model is the best business model you can have, bar none. And if you look at it, all the major businesses are doing it right now. Disney just said they're going to wipe out everything else and focus on the online digital platform of Disney Plus. Why is that? Subscription based. If I pay, I think it's $10 a month. I don't even know. I don't know. I even look at the bill. Let's say it's $10 a month for Disney Plus. And I pay 12 months a year. That's $120. Doesn't sound like a lot, right? But I probably don't go to how much does it cost to go to the movies now? Let's say $40 each. I don't go to the movies 3 times a year to watch a Disney movie, but now they got 120 of my dollars that they wouldn't have had in the old business model if it was just around the times when I'm going, and it's direct to consumer. So there's nobody taking a cut. When I go to the movie theater takes a cut and Disney gets what's left. With the direct to consumer, they get all of it. So with these online courses, there's platforms where they don't even take a fee. So this guy's making $10 million. And they're not even charging a fee. Of course, it costs money to have the platform. You're paying monthly to have the platform, but they're not taking a percentage of your sales. It's insane, man. And of course, it's going to change. Things are going to get harder. The more people get into this game, the less people are going to be able to break through. You're going to have to always try to figure out how to stand out. That's why the content game is so important. The advertising, all this different stuff, you're going to have to learn. But if you start putting in your head right now, what kind of course can I create? And this has been in my head for years now, years. But now after COVID, again, COVID is going to be a big world-changing event. Not just because we were stuck at home, not just because we had to be with ourselves more and really like give ourselves more like mental therapy or like meditation in a way. And I do believe that's going to help in a way somewhat. Some people it's going to hurt. But it's shifted the way society is using technology, and it's shifting the opportunities quicker to get to where we were going. So like I said about this online education thing, I've always thought we were going to get here. I've always thought it. And what I actually think is going to happen is, you see how people are paying, like I just told you, I'm paying the top guy to have him teach me how to grow YouTube faster. Imagine he had one more level up where I would pay $250 a month, $500 a month, and I get to work on his team and work behind the scenes and see step by step how they do it. Get experience in his company. I think I would pay that. Think about that. That's still less, way less than 1 semester at a college. And you're literally seeing one of the best people in the world, how they do it. I think that's where it's heading. Instead of paying for college, you're going to pay for more access to the best. So it behooves you to try to become one of the best in whatever you want to do. So start as soon as possible. And that's my advice. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to become the best in innovation, or one of the best. There's definitely rarely brown people, Hispanic like me from the Bronx, that you can connect with the way you can probably connect with me if you're like me. And I'll be honest, I'm talking to white men who have exited multi-million-dollar companies about this, and we're connecting fine too. So it's not just a race thing in a way, but when you look out there and you see multiple options and you see one option that kind of resembles you and where you came from, you're probably going to want more of that than someone who may not be able to relate with you as much. And that's the opportunity of anyone. It's going to happen if you are a Black woman, if you're an LGBT man, if you are a Pakistani data scientist, whatever it is. There's going to be a huge opportunity for anyone in any industry to teach people. Only if you're in the game. Only if you show up to work, even though you're sick, right? So at the end of the day, that's how I see it. Thank you for anybody who stuck around for so long. Please like this wherever you see it, and please share with anyone you think would need to listen to this. But I honestly believe, and I'm jumping in, course creation is probably the best revenue stream I've ever seen, actually, ever. After today's video, $10 million of 2 hours a week, a month. I've never even heard of nothing like that. That's freaking crazy, right? If you think about it. So again, like I did this morning, innovate every day. Thank you for watching.